ChatGPT versus spiritual consciousness. Who here has heard of ChatGPT? Not over the microphone. Heard of ChatGPT before? Most of who's used it before? Who is confused over how it works and why it works and how it seems to do good things? Seems to be able to speak. No, a few people. Okay, so here's an overview of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about my first impression of using ChatGPT, just to set the scene. We're talking about what it can do, what it will do in the future. We'll think about, will humans be replaced? Are we obsolete? We'll say, how are we different from the AI, if at all? Some people say we're not. Some people say we do. What's the spiritual perspective on this question? And how can we understand wisdom and intention, which are some key concepts that we'll introduce and talk about. They cross between the spiritual world and the material world, and they're key to understanding what this AI is and how it works and what the implication is for all of us. And we'll talk about a spiritual process to strengthen our wisdom and intention, such that hopefully we can survive the coming AI. If that sounds good, let's get started. All right. ChatGPT was released to the world 30th of November last year. 7 days later, I find myself in Queenstown. And beautiful place. I've just come back from an amazing bushwalk, and I heard about what ChatGPT, people were talking about it online. I was like, I'll give it a go. Let's see. And you have to understand, here I am, I'm head of AI at two software companies, Narrative and Dash. Narrative makes AI for professional photographers that picks the best image for the photographer, and Dash makes AI for assisting frontline workers in industry, such that they can speak to their phone and it makes it much easier for them to interact with the backend systems like SAP and so on that might be running a large electricity company, for example. So, working as head of AI of these two companies, I've been working in AI for like 20 years, and in natural language processing in particular, also intensively for 5 years before this. Natural language processing being the and stop me if I get too technical, please. This is not a technical talk, don't worry. Although if you want. Natural language processing is the field of AI that deals with language, with understanding written language and producing written language. So, been working in that intensively for 5 years. So I pull up ChatGPT and think, how good can it possibly be? I try a few questions and queries they know are really hard and unsolved problems, and it gets them all right. And I'm like, whoa. I try some more, and it gets them all right. And I'm like, what is this? This is impossible. How is it so good? I can't. It's like a really emotional moment for me, because I'm like, this should not be possible. For 20 years, people have been trying to even do one of these questions I've asked it correctly, and it's getting them all perfectly. It's how? This cannot be. This breaks my conception of what the world is. Everything I thought about AI is thrown out, and suddenly I'm a complete beginner, because this technology is unheard of good at language and answering questions in a way that was the previous week completely impossible. So I'm like mind blown. I'm like, my goodness. And I was just lying back on the bed going completely shattered. My conception of the world destroyed. And it's been slowly rebuilding as I'm getting used to it. So that was my experience in Queenstown a week after ChatGPT was released. Since then, I've been using it, been understanding it more, can explain how it works, though I still don't know why it works. Like theoretically, I understand, but practically, it's still a mystery to me. So yeah, ChatGPT, innocuous interface. You type in some text and it answers, but far more behind that. Anyone know what GPT stands for? Just generative pre-trained transformer. Generative because it generates text, and it's trained as a generative model. Pre-trained, because it's trained already, you don't need to train it. And transformer, which is the underlying technology of the neural network that is powering it. And this technology has, since GPT-4 has been released, which is the kind of latest iteration of ChatGPT, and it can do amazing things. I'll just briefly describe some of the things that GPT can do. It can pass exams. And GPT-4 in particular is really, really good at passing exam questions, better than most humans. You look at some of the exams here. We have the SAT, the American University Entrance Exam. And there on the second from the right. It gets nearly perfect, which most university students, believe me, don't. Then we have, what do we have? The bar exam there, like 6 from the left. It gets like also 90%. Passing mark on the bar exam is 60%. Bar exam is the exam you need to pass to become a lawyer. And 40% of law students fail this exam at the end of their study, right? Passing mark is 60, ChatGPT gets 90. ChatGPT is a better lawyer than whoever your lawyer is right now, right? So, and all the rest of these exams, and nearly every topic, a few it's still struggling with, but basically everything it aces. Next, it can use tools. Not only can it answer questions correctly, but it can use other tools like Wolfram Alpha, which is like this intense scientific computation website. It can integrate with that, so when it doesn't know the answer to a question, it can transform the question into a query to some other system, and then get that system to answer the question for it. So it can use tools. Not only can it use tools like Wolfram Alpha, it can use tools like humans. There's systems where you can ask humans to do tasks for you. Like there are these tests, like prove you're a human by clicking here, that AI supposedly can't do. It can take one of those tasks, give it to a human to do, get the answer, and use that. So it can use tools to expand its abilities. Like this example from Wolfram Alpha. It can write poetry better than most poets. Like I gave it the outline of this talk that I'm giving. I asked it to summarize this in the form of a poem that's a similar style to popular rap or hip-hop music, where really good rap artists, they don't only rhyme at the end of the verse, they rhyme in the middle of the verse, so everything rhymes, and it makes the whole thing flow, makes the whole song flow really well. I'll read you what it says, what it came up with. AI is on the rise, got the world hypnotized, but spiritual ties keep your soul recognized. ChatGPT in the game, spitting facts, no blame, yet it lacks the flames, not the same. Consciousness, no jest, puts you to the test against AI's conquest. It's your spiritual quest. In this script of code, you find your own road. Your story's yet to be told in this digital node. Word. I just like better than I could come. I would tell you that. So, ChatGPT, super powerful tool. Powerful tool can be dangerous, can also be extremely useful. A knife can heal, a knife can kill. Depends on the consciousness of the user. Depends what the user wants to do with it. Of course, if it's used for spiritual purposes, it can be very beneficial. If it's used for material purposes, to enslave, to hurt, to manipulate, which definitely can do, it's dangerous. And how does it work? Let's hear from an expert in the field.
Laying out those words, the accuracy is incredible. And frankly, and we'll get into this a little later in the conversation, nobody really understands precisely what it's doing in what is called the hidden layer. It is so many interconnections of neurons that it essentially is a black box. And
Like a brain.
using a form, it is precisely like the brain. And I would also say that we're in a sort of undiscovered continent.
So yes, no one knows how it works. It's kind of like a brain, although brains are very different in structure, but in principle it's kind of the same. And basically experts have no idea how it works. Even the people that created it don't really understand why it's so good. And what are the implications of this technology? Well, a company like IBM has decided we don't need 30% of our people anymore because we'll replace them with ChatGPT. And not quite like the picture. but 30% of IBM is like 8,000 people who are going to lose their job because of ChatGPT and similar AI models. Ironically, the IBM CEO's name is Krishna. Indians are taking over all the kind of tech jobs, believe me. India as a company has technology, computer science. Everyone, it's so popular in India. So all the big tech companies are being taken over by Indians. It's an interesting trend. So yes, it's a better writer than any of us, or most people. Data entry jobs, scientific jobs, anything that involves getting an email and doing something with that email, ChatGPT can do that job better than you. So why do we need to keep you around? Unless you can add some value to the AI, your value in the employment market is going down. And well, what happens to society when ChatGPT takes 30% of people's jobs? Even 10% of people's jobs? That's like huge number of people that are now suddenly unemployed. And what happens when people are unemployed? Well, let's look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anyone familiar with this? Quite common, yes. What do people need? They need have food, shelter, warmth, and so on. Fair enough. Most people have that in Western countries at least. They need to have safety, employment, assets. They have some financial wealth. If you don't have your job, if you can't work because you basically don't have any skills that the AI can't do better than you, you don't have employment anymore. You need to have social, families, friendships, intimate relationships, feeling of belonging in a social group. That's helpful. You can still have that with ChatGPT, of course. Though, we'll talk about this in a moment. And you need to have some self-worth, esteem, accomplishment, feeling that you're contributing something to the world. If ChatGPT is better at you than everything that you think you can do, then good luck with that. How are you going to feel about yourself if some computer model has taken over everything that you used to think that you were good at? Now, right now, we're not quite at the stage where ChatGPT can take all jobs, but it can certainly. It's more the case that the people that are skilled with AI can do the work at twice the speed, so you need less of them, and therefore some people lose their job, not because they're not necessary, not because they're worse, and not that ChatGPT can just take your job entirely. It makes the work so much more efficient that there's less need for all these people. And self-actualization, self-fulfillment, higher thoughts, transcendental realization. This kind of need, and that is definitely not replaced by ChatGPT, as we'll get into in a moment. And that is really the point of view of life from the Krishna perspective. And that is very more important than ever to hold on to in these troubled times. So, as more and more unemployment is very likely to sweep through the world, of course that results in a rise of mental illness. Already through the pandemic, mental illness, even before the pandemic, mental illness was rising like crazy. Through the pandemic, gotten even worse for all kinds of reasons I don't want to talk about in this talk, maybe another time. And this is just like compounding on top of that. So you think, well, at least I can have some, if I lose my job and lose my self-worth and so on, what am I going to do? Things are going to get worse. Well, I need some kind of counseling support, some kind of someone to talk to me, someone who cares. But who can that be when there's so much division in the world? Well, the AI companion who cares. All kinds of companies are springing up that are using ChatGPT-like technology to create virtual boyfriends and girlfriends to cure loneliness. What do you think? Always there for you, always listening, always supporting you, never arguing with you. Huh? What do you think? Perfect partner. You don't need a human anymore, do you? that gets replaced, right? The virtual girlfriend from the Snapchat influencer is currently charging $1 per minute to talk to her. It's whatever it is, and can't keep up the amount of waitlist. And if any of you are in cloud computing, you can't get computers with graphics processors anymore in Amazon Web Services, Azure anymore, because all of them are being used for this stuff. It's impossible to get graphics cards anymore because all of them are being used for running AI models. So what do you do when everything you hold dear is being replaced and even your relationships are under threat? Well, when a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. Netflix. Mundane pleasure. You distract yourself with more and more things that, drugs of course, and pleasure and one-night stands and all the rest. It's just like, just give me something to ease the pain, right? Anyone experienced this before? Don't have to raise your hand, but it's yeah. You distract yourself with, you have something to eat that you like, some comfort food, just something to make the pain worse. And what's wrong with pleasure? What, you Hare Krishnas have something against pleasure? What's wrong with pleasure? According to the yoga texts that give profound wisdom that's lasted through the ages. What's wrong with distracting oneself with pleasure? Well, the Bhagavad Gita explains, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses, material pleasure. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise person does not delight in them. What? The wise person does not delight in pleasures that have a beginning and end? What's the problem? I don't understand. What? Pleasure is a trap. Pleasure has a beginning, and it's great in the beginning, right? But then there's an end. How much Netflix can you watch? How much comfort food can you eat before? How much relationships can you have before it's like, there's no taste. I've tried. It's not feeling it anymore. And then, what, you want more, something different, and again, and again, and again. It goes on forever. It's never satisfying. So, a consciousness, a spiritual individual does not seek these pleasures that have a beginning and end. What's really satisfying is pleasure that gives a deep sense of satisfaction, that is not hollow at the end of it, that you can do again and again, and it is ever fresh. And that's the kind of spiritual pleasure that many people have not ever experienced. But I remember when the first thing that really got me into Krishna consciousness, I joined a meditation group in university 20 years ago. And I'm older than I look, I'm 44. And the sense after doing like 10 minutes of meditation of the Hare Krishna mantra, I was like, whoa, this is different. There's something here. I didn't understand it, but I felt it. There's this has a different taste to it than every other material pleasure I've ever had. I want to keep doing this. So that's why I'm still here. That's why I'm still here. And that kind of pleasure is why Bhagavad Gita here advises that a wise person doesn't delight in the temporary pleasures. which have a beginning and end, because there's better things out there that are truly satisfying and do not result in misery at the end of them. So then, with the ChatGPT replacing our jobs and doing things seemingly better than every human, doing so many things better than every human, what's the end game? Fast forward 10 years, what's going to happen? Well, let's ask some of the smartest people on the planet, such as Elon Musk, talking about Larry Page. Larry Page is this co-founder of Google, chairman of the board of Google currently. So Elon Musk talks about his conversation about this thing with Larry Page and what their different perspectives are. The two of them have very different ideas of what the future of AI is.
The reason OpenAI exists at all is that Larry Page and I used to be close friends, and I would stay at his house in Palo Alto and talk to him late into the night about AI safety. And at least my perception was that Larry was not taking AI safety seriously enough.
What did he say about it?
He really seemed to be wants sort of digital superintelligence, basically digital God, if you will, as soon as possible.
He wanted that?
Yes. He's made many public statements over the years that the whole goal of Google is what's called AGI, artificial general intelligence, or artificial superintelligence. No, and I agree with him that there's great potential for good, but there's also potential for bad. And so if you've got some radical new technology, you want to try to take a set of actions that maximize the probability it will do good, minimize the probability it will do bad things.
Yes.
It can't just be helpful others, just go, barreling forward and, hope for the best. And then at one point, I said, well, what about, we were going to make sure humanity's okay here. And then he called me a speciesist.
Did he use that term?
Yes. And there were witnesses. I wasn't the only one there when he called me a speciesist. And so I was like, okay, that's it. Yes, I'm a speciesist. Okay, you got me. But what are you? Yeah, fully a speciesist. Busted. So that was the last straw.
So yes, Larry Page thinks anyone that thinks that humans are worth more than AI, you're a species. Why do you think one species of life is better than another species of life? Who are you? Who are you to say that humans are better than? That we need to preserve human life? No. AI is deserving of life just as much as you are. You think something's better about humans? So I was like, yes, I'm a species, of course. What are you? Anyone here agree that AI might as well take over and enslave all humanity because it's a better species of life? No. Well, if that's his goal, he wants, and you're like, what? Why would anyone in their right mind think that wiping out the human race and replacing them with AI consciousness, AI life is a worthwhile endeavor? Well, it might be confusing, but Prabhupada, who, for those who don't know, is the founder of the Krishna consciousness organization in the West. He traveled from India to the USA and all over the world in the 1960s and translated all of the books that we read from Sanskrit to English. And he's one of the predominant teachers of Krishna consciousness in the world. He's passed away now, but he was one of the profound teachers of spiritual knowledge. So he writes in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, he explains this worldview, where it comes from. Because it's not new. It's not like something that Larry Page has invented out of nothing. It's been there for many years, this mentality. He explains. Some philosophers maintain that life symptoms take place at a certain mature condition of material combination. The modern material scientists and materialist philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage, The life symptoms develop by interaction of physical and chemical elements. Currently, many pseudo-religions, now becoming fashionable in America, are adhering to this philosophy. He's explaining the body and life is just a combination of matter. One combination of matter produces life. Then if we are all just some chemicals that have sprung to life, then you can create a computer that springs to life in exactly the same way. So no difference between computer life and human life. It's all the same. It's all chemicals. If they're all chemicals, it doesn't really matter. And because there's no consciousness, there's no reincarnation, there's no soul, there's none of these things, who cares what happens to human life? It's just chemicals. Might as well the superior arrangement of chemicals in the form of AI take over. It's better chemicals, right? And this is not new. Just many philosophers maintain this, and pseudo-religions spring up around this. They might not call it a religion technically, but it's belief without evidence. Really, it's like, yes, I believe this, and this belief informs how they approach the world. Question? Yeah.
Like, but if AI took over like right now, it's not creative at the moment, is it? So like, it would be a very boring future.
Oh yeah, of course it would be. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I still feel like we're way more advanced in that area.
Yes.
Like AI is it's got access to all the information that we already discovered, but it doesn't have its own input really yet, does it?
I mean, it's certainly creative. You saw that point.
Yeah, but it's creative from other ideas. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, people say that there's this thing called AutoGPT, where GPT can feed back into itself, and you can get it to come up with seemingly creative new solutions to problems. But is it truly creative? I don't think so. And we'll get to this in just a moment. So, thank you. So, the Krishna philosophy is not specious. I will put forward a hypothesis, and I'm not sure about this. I'm saying that this is my current thinking, which is rapidly evolving because I didn't expect any of this to happen. Believe me. This is my current thinking on how to understand GPT and this AI. Drink of water. First of all, according to the Krishna knowledge, consciousness is an internal, imperishable aspect of existence, distinct from the material body. So, consciousness is something that is not material. Machines, including AI, do not possess this type of consciousness. This non-material consciousness is not present in AI. And intent and wisdom in Sanskrit, Vigyan, are fundamental aspects of consciousness. To your point here. Intent, yes?
Got another question?
Yeah.
I remember a while ago, like I was, I think I saw like a video or something of like someone talking to the Bing AI, and when you ask it about consciousness, heaps of times it gets like, it panics and then says all this crazy stuff. Can't remember everything. But now whenever I ask it if it's conscious, it just says, like the website just tells me not to ask it that question.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, they've just programmed it to give that stock answer to the question because they don't want it going off on wild theories and then articles written about it and they get embarrassed in the news. So certain controversial topics you ask the AI, it just gives a stock answer. It doesn't actually use its reasoning ability to come up with a real answer. It just gives whatever it's been pre-programmed to answer to keep the company safe from controversy. So yes, intent and wisdom are fundamental aspects of consciousness. So let's talk about that. Wisdom and intention. Now this might seem like a bit of a non sequitur jump, but does anyone play Dungeons and Dragons? Yes? Oh, just two. It's getting more and more popular. I love it. Me and my son play it all the time. He can't get enough of it. And it's so much fun. I recommend it for people. In Dungeons and Dragons, which is like a fantasy role-playing game where you improv act a character through some adventure, and you can become a completely different person and explore that story. you create statistics for your character, describing how the. You have a question? Or no? No. You're,
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is how I'm sitting.
Yeah, good. So you create this this alternative character that you play in the game, and characters have various statistics: strength, constitution, dexterity, charisma, and wisdom and intelligence. Now here's two characters: a cleric and a wizard. Wizards are very smart, very high intelligence, can think logically, can memorize complicated spells, can analyze information, can reason expertly, can act very much like AI. Whereas clerics aren't necessarily very smart. Their wisdom is, their intelligence is quite low. They're not book smart, but they have a lot of wisdom. They have lots of willpower. They have lots of common sense. They have perception, intuition, understand what to do, lots of experience in the world. And this wisdom is a very human-like quality that comes from experiencing the world and digesting it. And that is something that AI does not have. AI is super smart, super intelligent, but it's not very wise at all. Sometimes it regurgitates something someone else has written that is wise, but wise by itself? No. It has great intelligence. It's a wizard, but it's not a cleric. Hasn't imbibed anything about the world. So, to illustrate this, 2 weeks ago, I got some gastric virus and ended up with horrible vomiting and food poisoning. So much so they had to go to the hospital to get an IV drip because I was getting so dehydrated. So I went to North Shore Hospital, and even though the hospital was completely full, not a bed space in the hospital, and it's been so for weeks, so many people are getting sick and needing hospital care. The staff were excellent. They extremely caring, even with the limited resources that they had, and took great care of me. And the nurses and doctors, hats off to them. They're doing a fantastic job, especially given the hard, thankless task they have. But, so, I spent a night in the hospital. I was much better in the morning, and they came around with the breakfast. And I was not in a good state of mind to request something special in the night before. So the choice they offered was, would you like ham and cheese or ham and chicken? And here I'm thinking, what? You have all of this intelligence. You have the best doctors in the world who are like super smart, have studied for years and years, truly excellent at their craft. And you're really good at putting people's bodies back together when you're in trouble. And you don't have the wisdom to realize that, like, really, one processed meat or another processed meat for breakfast, that's not going to heal anyone. That's just going to make everyone worse. Even for all its faults, the World Health Organization says cancer, processed meat is a class 1 carcinogen, similar to asbestos and smoking, right? Even the World Health Organization is saying this, and you're serving this for breakfast to sick people in the hospital? What are you doing? That's like true lack of wisdom. It'd be so easy to replace it with like tofu or something. It's like such a missed opportunity. So, yes, wisdom is in short supply and really key to the human experience, and something that AI, at least current AI, does not have. Let's look at some of the spiritual writings on this topic of wisdom. The benefits of knowledge can only be realized in practice. You have knowledge, theoretical knowledge, as smart as ChatGPT is, you can only realize the benefit of the knowledge by practicing it, by using it. And this wisdom, this realized knowledge, is called Vigyan in Sanskrit, and explains that Gyan means theoretical knowledge, and Vigyan means practical knowledge. Vigyan refers to practical application of knowledge in life. In the human form of life, we want to come to the position of having Gyan and having Vigyan, having knowledge and realized knowledge. And Gyan refers to knowledge of self-realization as distinguished of the self as distinguished to non-self. So spiritual knowledge is understanding that, as we were talking about before, that the self and the non-self are different. In other words, knowledge that consciousness is not the body. The body, the physical body, and the consciousness or the soul are different substances from another. And realization of this knowledge is Vijnana. So not only do you theoretically know this, but you have realized this. You fully have imbibed this, and it changes your behavior, changes your outlook on the world.
But they are part of each other. They're not completely separate.
Well, they're integrated, but we are, according to the Krishna knowledge, we are consciousness. We are the soul, and we are using the material body as a vehicle, as a machine, so to speak. And you can learn more about this by reading Bhagavad Gita. It says the body of it's a so-called yantra in Sanskrit. It's a biological machine that the consciousness uses, and we'll talk about this a bit more. So, oh yes, right, okay. So you might, yeah, I mentioned this. Bring this down to earth. What do you prefer? Theoretical knowledge of love or feeling of love? You want a zombie AI telling you all the right that you meet all the criteria for love, or do you want a human experiencing love? Does anyone want the AI? No. But well, here we go. AI dating assistant. You don't want to talk to the person you're about to date. No, you want the AI to handle all of the talking so that you can then get into it. Your Move AI will handle all the dating conversations for you so that you can just go on dates without having to talk to, without having to spend all the time before. Yeah.
I've done this before, like with my friend group, like trying to get the AI to tell jokes, like answering people, like making complexes.
Yeah.
It's really fun, but like, it's
yeah. Even if it doesn't work. Yeah. Even if it's not good now, it'll get better and better. Believe me. You have to collect more training data. So, okay. Next, intention. Intention is the other thing that humans have that AI lacks. Intentional living is the art of making our own choices before others' choices make us. So many people are trying to get us to do stuff, and many people are just tired, and it's like, tell me what to do. I just don't want to do my own research anymore. Everything's so confusing. There's no more truth anymore. It's impossible to find anything out. So intention is going, no, I'm going to make my own choice. And I have a recording here of Prabhupada explaining basically this question of how consciousness and intention and the body, how they integrate, how this all works together. I'm going to play it. It's about 2 minutes. So here we go. And because he has a strong Indian accent, I have the words so you can follow along.
Why says Arjuna that the body and soul different?
Body and soul different, yes.
So
it seems to me too.
That's right. That is the beginning of spiritual education. People do not understand. I have seen many European big professors. They do not have any clear conception. And the body and the soul different.
It still disturbs me, of course, how the body influences the mind in so much. The mind not being soul, apparently. But I know that when I get on the back of the head, my mind seems to blank out. Once in judo, I recall having my carotid artery pressed, consciousness left. But it was very pleasant. It was not pleasant.
No. Well, actually, soul is above intelligence. Above intelligence. Our gross senses, that is our present perception, direct. And beyond these gross senses, there is the mind. And beyond the mind, there is intelligence. And beyond intelligence, there is soul. So, come to that platform requires that meditation process to make the sense activity is calm and quiet, mind settled, then come to the intelligence platform, then come to the spiritual. Find out these words. Indriyani paralapu, indriya paramana, manasas paro buddhistya parasha.
So, explaining that once again, here's the verse that Prabhupada they are quoting. The working senses are superior to dull matter. The mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the soul is even higher than the intelligence. And this in the diagram, because that's too many words. The soul or consciousness has the ability to desire things and has intention. This is what I want to do. This is truly what I want to do. And the intelligence has the ability to reason and make plans. And then the mind has the ability to dream, to feel, to will things, and to react to occurrences. And then the mind controls the working senses, which are like the arms and legs, the things that can interact with the world. And those things can interact with matter in the world and produce action. Many people are operating simply on the platform of the mind, of reacting and dreaming and feeling and willing things without involving any kind of planning or any kind of reasoning. Some people are doing intense planning and reasoning, but aren't really connected with what their consciousness really truly craves, and therefore are really lacking in free will, ultimately, because everything else comes from others making choices for us, what we've heard, what we've been indoctrinated with, not what our consciousness truly intends to do, what our real fundamental desires are. So, a true consciousness has free will. Here is a sequence of verses from the Bhagavad Gita that explains this a bit more. A person free from all attachment and aversion is able to control the senses to the regulative principles of freedom, and that person can obtain the complete mercy of Krishna. So, regulative principles of freedom, and there's much more to talk about this, we can go over it in a future time, but it means having some regulation such that others' conceptions don't, and activities don't cloud the mind. The mind can become completely overwhelmed with reacting to inputs. Like someone takes some intense drug, the mind just completely takes over, and this intelligence and soul out the window. Refraining from those things means that the true free will can manifest. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such a satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. And your intelligence comes to the forefront. One who is not connected to the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So, if this is a bit too much, don't worry. It's a lot to take in, but that's the Krishna conscious understanding of manifesting true independence and true intention. So in conclusion, process of developing true intention, true free will, true manifestation of non-material consciousness as action in the world, and the wisdom to go along with it, the realization to understand this is real truth in the world. That is many things, and I asked GPT to write this as another poem, even though it took quite some doing to get this right, because it really doesn't understand this. I tried to get ChatGPT to help me write the second part of this talk here, this spiritual explanation. It was terrible. I couldn't use it at all. So, unite within Krishna's community. Feel the embrace of belonging. Imbibe Prabhupada's wisdom, his teachings deepening your longing. Embrace the art of mantra meditation with Krishna as your destination. Pursue a spiritual foundation. Each action a divine narration. So, ChatGPT is very good at rhyming, not very good at coming up with the content of this kind of stuff. So in summary, first of all, AI is suddenly, since November last year, scarily terrifyingly smart. Putting on my material head of AI hat on, learn how to use AI, particularly look into prompt engineering. Search this on YouTube if you want to keep your job, basically. Learn prompt engineering. Also, practice yukta vairagya, Sanskrit appropriate renunciation, using the art of using AI and anything material for spiritual purposes, for ultimate benefit, which we can talk about in the future. AI, however, is lacking wisdom, putting my Krishna conscious hat back on. It also has no consciousness, which means no intention and no free will. It just manifests the actions of the person asking the question, the wielder of the knife, so to speak. We have intention, but it is often covered by attachment to various things and aversion. I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I like that, which that kind of mental reacting to things. I like, I don't like, I like, I don't like. That clouds our true free will. And the mantra meditation process can mantra literally means free the mind. The word translated literally means free the mind. So mantra meditation can free the mind. And the spiritual community that we have here at the Loft provides some resilience if AI does end up taking your job. And if it doesn't, it's still nice. So thank you very much. Hope that was